This is 7. Learn English with Michelle Obama. And some of it starts as a young girl when you confront your first bully. Confront means to do with something very difficult or unpleasant in a brave and determined way. The first time somebody calls you out your name, as we would say, then she talks about getting called out. We do this when we criticize someone or ask them to explain their actions. The expression is to call someone out on something. He was lying, but Mark called him out on it. The way that Michelle uses this expression in this specific context is a bit different. She means something more like what happens in this clip, where someone calls someone's name and makes a teasing remark. Something similar that bullies do is call people names, which means to give people nicknames with the intention of humiliating them. The first disappointments and failures that you have, how did you deal with that? When you ask a question, the part between the question word, how, what, when, etc., and the verb often gets reduced and linked. In this example, how did you? How did you becomes? What do you want to be when you grow up? What did you want to be when you grow up? What did you really expect? So the question is, what are you going to do? What are you gonna do? What support systems do you set up for yourself? I always tell young girls, surround yourself with goodness. I learned early on how to, get the haters out of my life. Early on means at an early stage in a relationship process, etc. We also say later on to talk about something happening at a short time after the moment of speaking. You gotta just sort of surround yourself with people who uplift you, who hold you up. They also push you to be a better person or they bring the best out of you. A word with a strong positive meaning is empower. Let's see a few examples with these words. And it can empower a person to alter their behavior or to do something about the changes that have been noticed. I tell my mentees all the time, there is somebody out there who loves you. Michelle Obama is a mentor to many people. A mentor is a person who's highly experienced in a certain field and in a position to advise, help, and guide a person called a mentee with less experience. And you just have to find them. And that means you have to make room for them. And if you are surrounded by a bunch of low-life folks who aren't supporting you, low life describes a person with a very bad reputation, often involved in criminal activities. For in her phrase, low life folks refers to people in general. I'm always irritated by the you can have it all statement. And I grew irritated with that phrase and expectation the older I got. We can use this in a phrase like to grow irritated, which is the same as to become irritated and you are beating yourself up and feeling less than because you aren't having it all. If you beat yourself up, you blame or criticize yourself for something, usually in a way that is unfair or unnecessary. She says you feel less than. This sounds like an unfinished idea as she could have said. You feel less than someone else, but this has become an expression, which means to feel inferior in relation to people in general. Something's gotta give. I've made compromises in my life and my career. We will say something's gotta give when we are talking about a situation that involves two sides and requires that one of said sides becomes more flexible or changes in some way. For example, if you have a demanding job and at the same time you're studying at a university that requires plenty of dedication, someone might tell you that something's gotta give if you're struggling to perform well at both. When you say something's gotta give, you are talking about compromise, which is an agreement when the parts involved accept less of what they wanted first. We can use this as a noun. It wasn't perfect. It was a compromise. We can use this as a verb, a willingness to compromise in pursuit of a larger goal. But I've also, in exchange, gained a wonderful platform to do some great work. If I want to be heavily involved in my girls' lives, that means that sometimes I have to put some things on the back burner to give them what they need. You can say heavily after some verbs to mean the action of the verb happens in large amounts, to a high degree or with great severity. She became heavily involved in politics. If you put or push just something to on the back burner, you delay doing it, postpone it because it does not need your attention immediately, or because it is not as important, or other things that you need to do immediately. But that's where you go back to know who you are and know that you are really living through phases. And if you are compromising through one phase of your journey, you are not giving it all up. Phrase is pronounced with z, sound, phase. Then she says that when you make a compromise, you are not giving it all up. In this case, to give something up means to abandon it or start making progress. There's another phase that's coming up where you might be able to have more of what you thought you wanted. This sentence is a good one for practicing your pronunciation. Let's start with this junk. Hold on. There's another. Also, this becomes a willing and energy coming up. There's another phase that coming up. The next jump is there's not much reduction because most of the words are important where you might be able to have more. For conveying the meaning of the sentence only to reduce it to the, she says the. The third chunk and last chunk is of what you thought you wanted. Make sure you pronounce it as of. Notice she says wanted as wanted. You want to be whenever you are right now, and just like you say, I'm not through. To be through means to be finished. Okay, that's it.